welcome. Welcome to this special edition of the Bitcoin Rehab show from Prague, from Hackers Congress Paralelní Polis. Today, my guest is Kevin, who is the CEO of Revolt. Would you tell a bit about yourself, introduce yourself to my dear guests who probably don't know you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Kevin Loaec, K-L-O-A-E-C on Twitter. I'm mostly known for organizing some of the bigger security events on Bitcoin, namely Breaking Bitcoin and Building on Bitcoin conferences. I've been working on Bitcoin full-time since 2013, doing different stuff, hardware wallets, consulting firm at some point. I set up like a tiny crypto cafe or Bitcoin cafe in Lisbon in Portugal. Right now I'm working on Revolt, which is like a protocol on top of Bitcoin, like an overlay on top of Bitcoin for adding spending policies to Bitcoin, basically.
Oh, that's cool. So we were actually wanting to talk about toxic Bitcoin maximalism. Because recently we had lots of issues with Udiverse attacking other plebs on the Twitter space. That we are way too toxic, and we should be establishing some safe spaces for all these shitcoiners. So what do you think? What is your opinion? I mean, what is your opinion on the whole thing? What does toxic Bitcoin maximalism mean to you?
Right. To me, it's like a long story. I mean, if you've been in Bitcoin long enough, like there was always some shitcoins. There was always some weird-ass project trying to raise money to do some whatever fork of Bitcoin or anything like that. And then there was a big one, Ethereum. Holy shit. When that happened, the community was like pretty split already in terms of like some of them were like, yeah, we need more innovation. Bitcoin is too, set in stone. Nothing's moving. And then you had the other guys like, yeah, but you guys are dreaming. That's technology doesn't work like that. You need a secure thing if you want to make money on it. That's like, that already was a split there. And I guess it all started there with like the people shilling the pre-sale of Ethereum and the ones that were just trying to tell them, this is impossible. This project cannot work. It's just like you cannot make a secure thing like they want to do. And from there, people were just, over time, the Ethereum people were like, oh, we're delivering, we have like a blockchain, it works, we can do tokens on it, whatever. But still, like, the same problem still exists. And so the people at the beginning, who were telling everyone, don't buy Ether because it's not going to work, like they cannot deliver what they promised, are still right. Like the things that were promised were not delivered. And that became toxic, but we are going to deliver in 6 months. And it's been like 5 years or whatever. And it's like, fuck,
They just keep pushing out the date, usually.
Yeah. And that's like, it's just they feel bad about not being able to deliver on things that cannot be delivered. And then it's our fault somehow.
And how do you view the presence of the Bitcoin plebs on Twitter? Are they like constructive part of the conversation these days?
Okay. Maybe I'm not as aligned with everyone else on this topic. I really don't like the term Bitcoin plebs. I don't really fucking know, what can be a Bitcoin pleb and what cannot be. And I'm really interested, in the technical aspect of Bitcoin and like why it's secure and why it's the one. I'm not that much into the random wars on
the social aspect of it more.
I mean, the social aspect is great, but there is a lot of people who just join for like 2 months and then they are like the Bitcoin experts and they are blabbering some random shit on Twitter and you're like just, chasing likes. And I'm like, okay, that's right. Like you do whatever the fuck you want. But, I don't think it's a good strategy or approach to kind of pump too much the people who have pretty much no clue what they are saying. And, in 3 months, they might just jump on a shitcoin or whatever. I mean, this is a cyclical thing as well. It's just people chasing likes and sometimes they switch like we've seen with some people recently. So, yeah.
Do you think, what is the morality of shitcoining? Can a Bitcoiner buy a shitcoin in order to accumulate more Bitcoin? What do you think about this casinoing aspect?
Yeah. So, okay. I like that you said morality because I don't want to tell people what they should do or not. But I'm not going to touch any of this shit. Like, there is no free money. So if you make money, it means that someone else is losing money. And if you do that, like knowingly that this is a scam you're participating in, to me, it's exactly like stealing. And I don't think anyone should steal. Like, this is bad, as in like morally bad. So yeah, you just shouldn't. Even if you know you can make money easily, I think it's just a bad way. I mean, there is a lot of ways to make money easily that are either illegal or immoral. And I think, you know, shitcoining is immoral.
Why do you think that Bitcoiners are actually toxic? Why do they have to be this type of, I mean, they always bring them to be too toxic. Okay, that's one thing. But then, you know, being generally toxic towards shitcoiners, why is this necessary for Bitcoiners to keep doing?
Yeah, on this, it's different as well, depending on the people. Some people are toxic for the sake of being toxic. Some people became toxic because too much shitcoining. That's pretty much what happened to me. So I've always been interested in the technical approach of everything. And when I was trashing Ethereum, it's because I knew exactly what they were building. I spent a lot of time looking into it to, you know, make sure that my arguments were right and like they were, you know, perfectly right. And yeah, so I spent too much time on this shit. But anyways, and over time, it's like, yeah, but we are doing the new Ethereum and then the new Ethereum and the new Ethereum. And you're like...
The copy of the copy base.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't have time for this shit. And they're like, yeah, but, you know, you're just trashing it without knowing what it does. I'm like, dude, you're launching like 5,000 things per month. How can I track everything? Are you fucking kidding me right now?
You're going to be reading a white paper every day, every minute on the toilet or in the morning at breakfast. You're supposed to be looking at all the stuff every day. That just doesn't work like that.
And that's how it happened. You know, this toxic thing is like, yeah, they're telling me my project is shit without even looking at it. I'm like, dude, I'm not paid to do your security review for free. Like, what the fuck?
Let me give you just my own personal insight on this. Lots of people have been, you know, just asking me, why is it for me, why am I being toxic towards shitcoiners? And I think that I have more of a philosophical explanation for this. For me, it's, or maybe not, but I'll let you judge. My logic on this is that basically, if we allow shitcoiners and shitcoins to drag people away from Bitcoin, then when those people get wrecked, there is this tiny amount of chance for them to rebound from their situation. Let's say a normal lower middle class family or lower class family in the US or in Europe, they buy Bitcoin and they sell out for shitcoin. They lose all their money. That's gone. And that's the problem, because if we lose the intelligentsia, aka the intelligent capacity that will be able to come into Bitcoin, then it's never going to be able to fulfill that capacity in the future. We lose those people. We're not going to have the intellect within our space that could become whole and be a functional part of our society in the future when the hyper-Bitcoinization is going to happen. So like, this is how I kind of view these things. And I think this is why it's so important for Bitcoin maximalists to really push people towards Bitcoin by, I don't really care if they're going to push them to shitcoining. They will learn. But the best is if you're able to educate people. Because when I was doing my thesis, for example, I completely orange-pilled my professor. So that was one thing. Like some avenues to enter Bitcoin. First is like the one that is not really open, like with the cypherpunk ideology. That you want to see like encryption and money on the internet. And then now we are in the profit phase. So everybody wants to make money. And then the third one that is very, very unique and very, very it doesn't really exist is the educational wise. When you get a full toxic, I mean, not a toxic, a Bitcoin maximalist education, a cultural education, and you're able to process it raw, what you're being told over time. And that's just as good as you would experience it through losing out on shitcoins.
Right. Okay. Interesting point. I think, okay, so I have also a different view on some of this. One of them is that I think Bitcoin is not something simple to get, and so
Yeah, obviously.
and so not everyone is ready for it, I think. And if we try to push it too much to like mass adoption, people are going to have it and see it as like a get rich quick scheme or whatever, and they don't understand the value proposition behind it.
Yeah,
and they
like
might
in El Salvador, for example.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You enforce the technology on people who have absolutely no idea, then it's a normal human reaction that they feel threatened.
Yeah, yeah.
They feel threatened that this system is some sort of a scam, that their government that they do not trust is enforcing something on them. And it brings out this I doubt the system mentality, and I need to resist it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, if you don't educate them, just suddenly push this thing here, Bitcoin, use it. I would freak out personally if I have to think like one of those people.
Yeah, but can you force people to learn about, money, for example? And we see that,
No.
today
Yeah.
nobody cares. It's just like, I just need to be paid my salary and then I can buy my shit and I'm happy with my life. Now, if you give them Bitcoin for their money, they just don't care how it works. And I think this is potentially an issue if we go too fast for scale and we start losing some of the maximalism or the ideologies that we have, that we really need to defend the censorship resistant aspect of Bitcoin. We need to defend the decentralization aspect. We need to defend, like so many things. Because like you ask random people on the street about Bitcoin or whatever, and they would tell you, oh, it's too slow, it's too expensive, we need bigger blocks. Like, what the fuck? This is not what we need. This is what you want because you want to pay less fees, but you're going to break the system. And so, yeah, to me, there is always this thing, like we need to thread carefully because if we go too fast, we might just hurt ourselves in the process, like at least the community or whatever you call it. I don't know if it's one community, but yeah.
There is no Bitcoin community.
It's a system.
They're just like individuals who are voluntarily grouping together. That's right. What's the majority consensus is on Bitcoin. There's no Bitcoin community. There's so many communities, it's not a community. So.
Yeah. So let's say the system or the consensus or what Bitcoin is today, there is no guarantee that it's that in the future, especially if we don't continue to get people aligned on what is important.
Yeah, education is a really big issue because we don't know how to approach these people. It's like there's so many differences in educational background, views on things. You need to have like multiple fits of some sort of a, how would I say, like explanations about Bitcoin for them to understand it. You need to be able to have the initial capacity to understand how it is working, and this is what is causing a lot of issues. Not many people are able to make it to the next step, and we somehow need to figure this out, like what to do about it. Because, okay, some people remain toxic. I mean, you cannot hurt Bitcoin either because it's a beast of its own life. So it's like you cannot stop it, you cannot do anything, and people will eventually use it. But there are some ways probably to make the adoption happen much more faster. What do you think? Do you have any ideas how we could get adoption going faster? Like, yeah.
So again, I don't think we should. But adoption is different for each people. And also, like, yeah, as you said earlier, we have phases in Bitcoin, right? So I think it's more like a need. It's not that people should just get into Bitcoin somehow and then learn about it. It's more like, hey, one day I need Bitcoin because I need to buy something online, or because, like for my case, for example, I was working on a payment device and then I learned about regulation and I was like, what the fuck? And then I learned that if I was using Bitcoin instead, I don't have to apply for like a fucking license. So, it depends on the people. Each one has their own way to discover about it. And I don't think we should push it to people. It's more like they will find it because like it's fixing so many different use cases or problems. And, inflation right now is going to be the big one, I guess. So if inflation starts hitting, people are going to be like, how can I defend myself? And Bitcoin is that. So,
like in Hungary, we had a 35% inflation also, like in the US. Like oil, food prices are usually the ones that are first affected because how inflation works in the US is that, the Fed buys bonds and stocks and whatever else. And then only later the money from these investors go into the mainstream, and then it starts affecting food prices and everything else. Because what people need all the time? Food to live, you know. That's the main consumption problem, not electronics or something. So, and like, you know, when they realize that money is, you know, really running out and it doesn't have any value, that's when they start panicking and looking for ways how to kind of get out of the system.
Yeah, completely agree on that. And I think that's the answer you were looking for. You know, it's like, what's the next big thing to bring people to Bitcoin? I think the governments are doing it for us.
Probably educating people about inflation more.
Yeah.
What is the function of money in society? Because money is really an abstract concept for our in our world. Like we cannot comprehend, but we cannot live without it, and we don't get any education about it in school or anywhere else.
Yeah, and there is also the difference between like the standard inflation, like the 2 to 5% we might get annually normally, and then the COVID inflation that's gonna hit at some point. Yeah. We don't know when. Like it could be year on year, or it could be in 5 years. You know, who knows? But this is going to happen, and this is very different. You don't need to educate people when they see that a third of their money or the value is gone. You know, it's like I don't think you need to, you know, teach them that. They are going to notice.
You're gonna see like for example in Hungary, cooking oil's price went up 2x. Next time I just go in the store and it was like 250 forints for just 1 liter oil. Oh, it's 500 forints, like €2 almost. And I'm like, what the hell? It's like, really? How am I gonna cook? so you know, people just, you know, need to have these wake up moments, I would say, just to realize that something is wrong with the money.
Yeah, and then there is also all the infrastructure we need to keep building. You know, as you know, it's
without good infrastructure, basically we cannot have normal adoption, because if lots of people would immediately start using Bitcoin, the whole thing would clog up. We don't have technology to solve this issue right now.
Yeah.
The first that we're like something that we group together transactions into big transactions, like big UTXOs with paying for the fees. But then you know, it kind of depends like how it's sorted out.
Yeah. And again, we should be kind of careful about that. If too many people are looking for a solution that's cheap and fast, you know, it might not be Bitcoin today, and they might hurt themselves again in the process. I mean, it's fair, I guess. It's each people's responsibility to kind of learn. But again, can we expect everyone to learn, and how? Like right now, so when I started in Bitcoin, it was, you know, Bitcoin was the big deal. So getting education on Bitcoin was just you find some Bitcoiners and you can learn. Now you go to a meetup, go to a random meetup, like a crypto meetup, try to find a Bitcoiner there. You might find one and he's going to be in minority, and everyone will just say, oh, you're toxic maximalist. Like, this guy is the dinosaur, you know? So,
oh God.
So how can you even, you know, expect people to educate themselves, you know? No, it doesn't matter how much content you're putting online, like good content. You're going to have much more in shitcoinery with much higher budget, with marketing budget, with like advertising budget. Yeah, it's just like, maybe people have to burn themselves in the process. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, well, probably we're not going to get it today since we reached the end of the show.
Right.
So thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate that you were here.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, man. So yeah, this is the Bitcoin Rehab podcast from Prague in Paralelní Polis. I'm Karo Zagorus, and we're now over. Bye-bye.